Okay, welcome to this presentation of Writing Career Coach. This is how you catch a reader's attention. If you don't want to just write a book but sell a book, stick with me in this video. I won't play games teasing you along, and I won't promise a big payout that never manifests itself. I won't drone on endlessly trying to bump up my view time, but what I will do is start right now to give you some real content. Are you ready? So if you decide to stick around, I'm going to walk you through the opening lines of a book, dissect it, and show you how to do the same. This is going to help you improve your writing because we are going to be practicing editing techniques, not writing a first draft, but cleaning and polishing to prepare it for publication. If you decide to stick around, this will help you with editing your own book. So you have about 15 to 30 seconds to grab the reader. 1 to 5 sentences. And if you hold them that long, you have a shot at selling your book in a physical bookstore. If you hold them that long, that means they are interested enough to make the purchase and to take your book home. If it's an ebook, they get to read the first few pages typically, if you allow that feature, and then you might have a little bit more work because you have to keep them engaged for a few more pages, design that really strong hook that keeps them going. It's not good or bad, it just is. I know it doesn't seem fair. You've agonized over every single word of your story. You've poured emotion into the piece. How can they only give you a few seconds? But we aren't talking about what's fair. We're trying to learn what is real so that you can stand out and get your book sold, so your story can shine. Besides, the same is happening right now as you watch your video. We just hit the 2-minute mark. You are trying to decide right now if you want to stay on the video, if you think I'll have a lesson that will provide enough value to keep you watching. Statistically, 70% of you clicked away at 30 seconds. So before anyone else swipes away, let's get to the second point. This is the opening that we will be looking at. There's going to be a link below that allows you to download these pages that we're going over so you can practice some of these techniques that I'm going to show you, but don't download it yet. Watch it first and then download because I'll show you exactly how you're going to use this. You'll be able to download the pages that we're using in this lesson. I will explain more later what to do, and it is free. It's not a sign up and I'll bug you every day free. The source of these lessons is a book called A Face in the Shadow that I wrote back in around, I think I wrote it in around 2003 or 2004. Then it went through a series of revisions, and in 2007, it won a national writing contest for unpublished works by unpublished authors. It was actually a requested full by publishers, but it never got published. This is why this is so important, because this is a book that was right on the edge. It was almost there. Now I use this book to teach aspiring writers to be better self-editors. There is more information about this in the pinned comment below. But for right now, fellow writers, I want to know who is watching. If you've entered a writing contest in the past, or you currently have, if you've entered nanowrimo, if you've completed a manuscript, or if you're just starting out, share something about this below. Talk about where you are in your writing journey. Tell me the name of the writing contest, how you did, what you thought of the experience, where you're at in your publishing and writing journey, or if you like to write for yourself or for your family. Just let me know who you are so I can provide content that's going to be catered to the people who like to watch these videos. And while you're at that, go ahead and like and subscribe if you do like videos like this so that I know that more people want to see this kind of content. All right, starting with 1. This is the opening of the book, A Face in the Shadow. You see, it says, Logan stalked the redhead with his sunglass hidden eyes. This is the first line of the story. Think about whether or not this grabs your attention, what kind of questions it's introducing, whether you find them effective, yes, no, why or why not. Now, see, the beauty of this is This is my writing. You can beat up on it. You're not emotionally invested. You're not trying to decide whether or not to spend money. You're simply looking at the quality of the craft. And I've already acknowledged this book is not quite publishable yet, but there are plenty of elements that did grab editors' attention. So there's good and bad here. So what do we know first? First, we see some questions being introduced. Who is Logan? Why is he wearing sunglasses? Now notice the word sunglass hidden eyes. That can indicate something malicious. It can also indicate something just he's looking around and nobody can see his eyes. However, that verb, the second word of that sentence, stalked, that typically implies something negative. And you'll see more later and in future videos about how we use specific verbs to try to guide the story and try to influence the reader's perception of what is happening. We don't want to tell the reader what's happening. We want to show it through the actions and words. It was time to begin his pursuit. Okay, is he a private eye? Is he a stalker? Is he seeing the redhead and he begins his pursuit completely unrelated? Again, we're trying to introduce a series of questions and answers as we move through the opening. He meandered at a safe distance from his target. He knew her path and routine. She never deviated. She'd go to her dorm now, but in an hour she'd come back down the same walk and into a private study room at the library. Always the same one. In the basement, past the bound periodicals and around the corner. She valued her privacy, and so did he. Now we're only into the third paragraph. By now, most readers are deciding whether or not they're going to buy the book. And as I said, we're not dealing what's fair or unfair. We're dealing in what is actually happening. So he meandered at a safe distance from his target. Meandered. We're trying to build pictures in the reader's mind. Notice I don't want to give too many details, only enough to cause the reader to create their own story world. I love what Stephen King once said. He said, writing is telepathy. So he can see something in his head and he can convey it to the reader. However, there's also a technique called off camera, which I'm sure you've heard if you've been writing for very long. And if you haven't, let me introduce it to you. Off camera means it's something that you don't show the picture. So think of a movie. You hear a noise off camera, but you're not seeing what's happening. You're reading the face of the other characters, or you're seeing a shadow, or just the sound itself lets you know what's happening. Is it the sound of wood chopping, glass breaking? All these kind of things help us build a picture in our own mind. And in something that is like suspenseful, whether it's a suspense fiction like a scary, or suspenseful in a romance, or in a just building a story, we have suspense. That's how we keep people going. We need to have some things that are off camera so that our reader can build up their own perception of what is happening, because it makes the book their own. They feel emotionally invested. So already in about maybe 10 sentences, we've done a lot of things. And this is going to be key to your writing. Building up and understanding where we are, where we're trying to take the reader, and how to pull them in so they will care enough about the story to continue through and get to know our characters. What issues have you already identified in this writing? Now, you saw I skipped past a couple of pages. That's for those of you who do not want to download this story. You're going to be able to go back and rewatch this video and pause it in those moments and kind of jot some notes for yourself. For those of you who would like to download it, you will have access to the PDF version that you can download of just those few pages. But I want you to think about what you've already identified in the writing that is going well and what is going poorly. So the issues. The thing that I see is, first, there's a lack of depth, and it's a little bit cliche. Now, I can look back on this after over a decade, and I'm emotionally detached from it. We'll talk in future videos about how to emotionally detach yourself from your own writing so that you're able to more effectively edit your writing. I want you to consider, however, how you would solve these issues and others you've identified if you were revising this book. So let's do some analysis. First of all, what characters were introduced? There was Logan, and there was his prey, essentially, the person he was stalking. What questions were introduced or answered? Let's go back and look. Okay, so as I said before, we have Logan, and some of the questions that were introduced is, who is she? Why does she have such a strict routine? Why is he stalking her? What is going to happen? Why does she value her privacy? And why does he? Time to begin his pursuit. Is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Because we genuinely don't know. Like I said, this could be a serial killer. This could be a boyfriend. This could be a private investigator. It could be a cop for all we know. So do you want to improve? If you're a writer who wants to continue to improve your fiction and nonfiction craft, subscribe so you continue to be notified when I post more lessons on various aspects of writing. And let me know what topics you want to see in the comments below. I reply to as many people as I can. Typically, I respond to everyone in the first 48 hours. Everyone who comments in the first 48 hours, I respond to. Words have meaning. We know that as writers. So let's continue our analysis. How many of the 5 senses were used in this story, and how effectively were they used? We obviously saw sight because he had sunglass hidden eyes. So we know that when he's looking at things, he's looking at her through his sunglasses. We have no sense really of what the day is in those couple paragraphs that we read. However, in more of the story, we go into more depth about where he feels hot and cold and various senses. But how effectively were they done? When you go back and review those pages, consider these questions because this is really an important part of building the story world and the craft, is not only using as many of the senses as you can in a way that's not laying it out and making the reader feel like they're being lectured to, but feeling those senses along with the characters, and how effectively did they do that? Again, I've commented on this numerous times. It's the showing versus telling. So how would you fix the poor use of showing and telling in the few pages of this manuscript? Look at something you've written at least a month ago. Now, this is really important because remember I talked about emotional distance. The longer you're away from your own writing, the more objective you're able to be when you're editing your writing. So I always call it making your writing become stale. So look at something that you wrote at least a month ago and try to do a 1-page analysis. So analyzing 1 page to see if your writing struggles with any of the issues in this opening, any of the same things that you saw with the writing I just presented. Maybe now that you've seen an example of marginal writing, you're like, oh, and then you go back to your own writing and realize you did the same thing. This is how we're going to help you improve your craft. Verbs are the powerhouse. Again, notice stalked, target. Those are things that help us to understand kind of the intent. Because if it was pursued or I can't even think of another verb right now. How did the verbs in the opening of this work attempt to show? When was it effective? When was it ineffective? How would you have changed it? So attempting to show is the showing versus telling. So how effective were the verbs in showing you what you were supposed to feel, what you were supposed to see, what was happening in the story, and engaging the reader? After this video is done, download the free pages, or if you don't want to do that, you can go back in this video and pause it on those screens. Rewatch the video and look for the things that I missed and those that I pointed out. Step back and look at your own writing with the same amount of objectivity you have in this piece of writing. Writing isn't about ego. There are easier ways to be noticed. It's about conveying a message. So we are not writing these stories just because we think that we have something super important to tell. We're trying to create something fun for other people. We're trying to make a difference in our world, and it takes a lot of work. And by reviewing this video multiple times and each time trying to find something a little bit different, both in the story that I'm presenting and then transferring that to your own story, you are going to learn how to better engage the reader. I want to thank you for your time. We'll see you on the next video.